All right, so I'm going to really quickly kind of break down the fast break 2-on-1, or at least one of the many scenarios that you can have with a fast break 2-on-1. So in this case, uh, number one has the ball, and number two is slightly ahead with number two's defender down court. Now, in this case, defender two's defender is in front of two. He can be slightly trailing behind two. It doesn't completely matter. The situation is still going to be the same, where they one and two have an advantage on the defense because two now has to potentially defend two people. Now let's go ahead and watch what happens if two cuts to the basket. So two goes to the basket and two's defender follows him, right? And one and his defender are trailing. Uh, this leaves two under the basket, and it takes away one's ability to drive, because if one drives in, now you have two people. Oops. Now you have both people in the paint and both defenders in the paint. No spacing, no real shot there. It's just kind of a mess. And we'll look at an example of what that can look like with Draymond Green in a minute. Instead, an alternate kind of option is that two, after two's defender steps up, two will then flash out to the corner. Now, because two's defender steps up, this does give the opportunity for two to kind of help and then recover once one catches up. It does also mean that two might be wide open for a three in the corner. But it takes time because now two has to run all the way out there from the paint, and that gives the defense time to potentially catch up. This can create an advantage, but in my view, it's a little bit suboptimal because of how two can catch up, or two's defender can catch up. Instead, the most optimal way to maintain spacing and maintain that advantage is to have two go to the corner. Two goes to the corner while one still drives up, and this maintains space. One now has a completely wide open drive to the basket. And let's watch what happens. So now one can go into the basket and go for the shot. So we've maintained space. Yes, there is a chance that one's defender can come up and get the chase down or whatnot, but it's much better to rely on letting the other team getting lucky with the chase down rather than having somebody contesting from the front. You would always rather have somebody contest from the front rather than contesting from the back. For defense, it's the opposite on offense. You're on offense, you want somebody contesting from the back, not the front. This also means that there is an alternative option, and that is if two's defender comes into the paint to try and stop the drive. Now let's see what happens when we got this option. Two's defender comes in, and now one can swing it out to two for the wide open three. And spacing is maintained. Now there is a chance that one can, run out to two's man, or two can again kind of stunt and recover or whatever else. And those do happen, but this maintains maximum spacing. Two doesn't take up time by running to the paint first and then going out to the corner. Two immediately goes out to the corner, which again maximizes spacing. Two is staying as far away from one as it can, and so long as he does that, it forces two to make a decision on what to do with the ball. Next, we're going to go ahead and look at an actual play where this is in effect. So we have here uh, a fast break. Curry is ahead of Durant. Here we can see Curry. He's ahead of Durant. Now, Curry could cut to the basket, but then he's going to draw LeBron in, which would then clog the paint. Instead, what he does is Curry stays wide, and LeBron is forced to follow. Now, once LeBron follows, even though he's a little bit lazy here, KD has a wide open drive to the basket. And we see there he goes, and he has a wide open drive. Now, as the text said, he is lazy, or LeBron is a little bit lazy here. And this was an issue with the Cavs for their failure to communicate. But the main idea is that LeBron stays away from the play, or they maintain spacing. He stays away from the ball. He did think that Kyrie would have picked up the ball handler. Kyrie obviously did not, because that Cavs team did not have very good defensive habits. But that is the overall idea. Curry maintains space. He does not cut to the basket. He stays away so that KD would then have a wide open drive to the basket. Or LeBron would rotate to protect the rim, in which case Curry now has a wide open three. We'll see another example of this. So same kind of idea here. KD and Curry. We see Curry in the corner here and KD right here. They have a 2-on-1 opportunity. J.R. Smith is the only defender back. J.R. Smith now has to decide, does he want to defend Curry, who is now moving toward the corner, which would then free the paint for KD? Or does he want to stop the ball, defending KD's drive, but then leaving Steph wide open for a three? Through this, the 2-on-1 advantage is going to be maintained. J.R. Smith, in this case, picks the option to stay on Curry. This is the wrong decision. You always want to stop ball. But he stays on Curry, and now KD is going to get a wide open dunk. There he goes, and boom. So, in both cases, had the defender stopped the ball, as they should always try and do on a fast break, then Curry's going to be wide open for a three with a ton of space. Space is maintained, and it's a huge part of the 2-on-1 fast break, is maintaining that space. Now we'll go ahead and take a look at an example of what it looks like when space isn't maintained. So this clip is going to be of Draymond stopping a 2-on-1 fast break from the Trailblazers. Now the situation isn't completely the same, but we do see the problem that can happen uh, when the players get a little too close. So Dame has the ball. Draymond correctly picks up Lillard. Now, Lillard sees the flashing Vonleh. He's going to pass it to him, and Draymond is going to turn around and be able to contest at the rim. Now, there's not necessarily anything the Trailblazers could have done better here. The only thing maybe could have been Dame going to the three and then waiting a beat for Draymond to really have to commit. But in the moment, this is kind of like, the instinctual correct basketball play. But we can see that these guys are going to be really close. Dame is even going to take a couple of steps in. So because Dame is here, not in the corner, Vonleh would not even really have the option to pass it out to Dame for the wide open three. He could dump it off to Dame, who's now in the dunker spot, but Draymond can still turn around and defend him. And the result, Draymond gets the block. Now, obviously, this is majorly due to Draymond just being a straight up generational defender. But that kind of tight spacing is not exactly what you want to see. Ideally, you're going to be a little bit bigger, or you're not bigger, more spread out. And Vonleh might even take a more wide route to the basket rather than a direct cut. But like I said, that's all hindsight stuff. In the moment, those were all like, the correct basketball decisions. That's just Draymond Green being an incredible defender. The more relevant and direct clip is again going to be Draymond, and he's actually going to be defending a 3-on-1 fast break. So this should be an even easier scoring opportunity for the Pacers. So 3-on-1, and all three offensive players are going towards the paint. Nobody is staying out for the three. All three are going towards the paint. Even though this is a 3-on-1 opportunity, all three players are going into the paint, which severely reduces the decisions that can be made. Because they are all three here, all the guard can do is dump it off to Brogdon, who now has almost nothing he can do because he can either stop and pop for a mid-range, which Draymond could then contest, which might be okay because then they could probably get the rebound. But he has almost nothing he can do. The guard wasted time going into the paint rather than maybe even dumping it off to Brogdon first before flashing out to the three. Sabonis is also coming into the paint rather than sticking out, going to the corner for a three. Not that he's necessarily the one you want to shoot the three or finish the play or whatever, but there is no spacing here. There is zero spacing. There are very few decisions that can be made. Draymond isn't forced to make any super difficult decision. He's just defending the ball regardless, and he knows that he can keep this clamped until the rest of his teammates arrive. And we'll see what happens. It's now passed. He goes here again to the dunker spot rather than getting a little farther away and perhaps having like a wide open mid range or something, and then tries to get fancy or by trying to get it to Sabonis, who isn't expecting that, and they throw it out of bounds. So throughout all of that, spacing was not properly maintained. They bunched up too much. So we really want to make sure that on fast break opportunities, we are maintaining spacing as much as we can. So in the end, with a fast break opportunity, we want to maintain space so that we are, one, maximizing our scoring opportunities. We have the option for a wide open corner three. The ball handler can take it in for a dunk. They have a lot of different choices they can make. We also want to force the defense into making a decision. If we're forcing the defense into making a decision, whether to cover the corner or cover the basket, that's a good thing because, again, that will maximize our opportunities and it will leave somebody open. And then finally, we also are being aware that passes can be easily picked off. This is especially true for a situation in which one offensive player is ahead of the ball handler and wants to cut to the rim. If they cut to the rim with the state of 2K as it is, there's a pretty good chance that that pass will be picked off in some way. And even if the pass is pulled off, now 2 is being defended at the rim. Because 2's defender is going to be closer to him than 1's defender will be closer to 1. Because of that last point especially, my next offensive video is going to be on cuts, because cuts are seem like a really juicy opportunity, and they definitely can be. But the way they are used and the way they are thought about can sometimes be a little bit more harmful for the way 2K is played compared to, like, the real life, or the way it happens in real life. Essentially, just because you have a wide open lane does not mean the cut is the wide open play. But I'll get to that in the actual video once I make it. My next video is actually going to be focusing more on defense. It's going to be focused on screens. The first video will be just about screens in general, what screens are used for, both in the NBA and in 2K. And then the video after that will be how to defend screens. And then at some point, I will be making a video on how to utilize screens. As with pretty much everything in 2K, the key to making it be efficient, the key to making it be good, is to be decisive. So if there's one thing you're going to take away from this video, it's that decisiveness is key. You need to be able and willing to make a decision right off the bat. Be decisive with your shooting. Be decisive with your drives. Be decisive. Are you going to pull this shot, or are you going to attack the closeout? Are you going to drive to the rim off the screen, or are you going to stay out for a three? If you're going to stay out for a three, you got to pull that immediately. Yeah, be on the lookout for that in the coming little time period here. And I'm hoping this will be just one of many videos to come. I hope y'all enjoyed. If you have any feedback, feel free to let me know. Hopefully, there will be comments available on this one. Fem informed me that since I've been making them made for kids, which I didn't really, I thought it was just like, oh, this would otherwise be blocked from being viewed by kids, that people wouldn't be able to, because I made it, I put that option on, nobody's been able to comment. So I'll go ahead and make this one not that. So you should be able to comment on this. But yeah, if you have any feedback, just let me know. Things to add. I want to say that this is not a be all end all. I am not, a supreme basketball expert. I'm sure some of what I said would be wrong or could be corrected or said better. But this is kind of how I tend to view stuff. So yeah, if you got any feedback, just let me know, and I'll see y'all next time.